Welcome to my little lesson on multiplying and dividing fractions. So we're going to look first at multiplying fractions. So I actually think that multiplying and dividing is easier than adding and subtracting because you do not need common denominators, okay? This is super important. People often will get them, but you do not need common denominators. It's not wrong, but it sure makes it a lot more work, okay? So let's just take a look at a couple of examples. So if I have, say, 3/5 times 10/13. Okay, so two ways we can do these questions. When you're multiplying, you can just multiply directly across the top and then directly across the bottom. So 3 times 10 is 30, and 13 times 5 is 65. But then I need to reduce that. So I see both of those are divisible by 5. So this becomes 6/65 divided 5 is 13. Okay. A quicker way to do this question and what we kind of want you to work towards is what we call cross-reducing. Okay. We know that anything divided by itself is equal to 1, right? So it's easy if I have a fraction up and down. Like if I was to say 4/6, we know that reduces to 2/3. Okay, we can also do cross reduction. So what we do is we look at look at the 3, and when it's a multiplication question, you can look anywhere on the bottom. So is there any of these? So does 3 divide by 5, 3 divide by 13? No. Okay, so then we can go to the next space. 5, we can look at any of the top things. So I can see that 5 and 10 can cross reduce. So what that means is how many times is 5 going to 5? Once. How many times is 5 going to 10? Twice. And then I would check 13, nothing goes. So now I multiply the remain of what's left. So 3 times 2 is 6 over 1 times 13 is 13. And you notice that we get the same answer. We're just dealing with much smaller numbers, okay? Let's look at another one. So if I say, for example, -5/8 times -12 over 20. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to take a peek to see if anywhere, so I always just start in the first spot with the 5, look at my bottoms. Is there anything that reduces? Well, I can see that 5 and 20 reduce. So 5 goes into 5 once and into 20 4 times. Okay, now I'm going to go to the next number, the 8, and I'm looking at anything on the top. So does 8 reduce with 12? Well, yes, it does. What goes into both 8 and 12? Well, 4 does. 4 goes into 8 twice and into 12 3 times. And then I can just check my last numbers, which are the 3 and the 4. Nothing is left. Now, still don't lose those signs. So I have -1 times -3 on the top, which is 3, over 2 times 4, which is 8. Now, if you do your cross-reducing properly, your answer will be in those terms, okay? The other option for that was if I had -5/8 times -12 over 20, I multiply across the top, so I get 60 over 160, and then I need to reduce that. So I know those both divide by 10, and then those both divide by 2. Okay, either way works. We do want you, again, to work towards the cross-reducing because that's what you'll be using in future classes. Let's look at mixed fraction, -1 3/4 times 5 1/3, let's say. So remember, we want to put those into improper fractions first. So 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7 over 4. This is a negative fraction, times 15 plus 1 is 16 over 3. And then I'm checking to see if I can reduce anything. Well, I see that 4 and 16 can reduce. 4 goes into 4 once and into 16 4 times. And that is all. So now I have -7 times 4 on the top, which is -28, over 1 times 3, which is 3. Okay, let's look now at division. So when I'm dividing fractions, okay, so if I have 3/8 divided by 1/4, okay, So you keep the first fraction the same. You change the divide sign to multiply, and you take the reciprocal of the second fraction, okay? Or the one after the divide sign. So what does reciprocal mean? The reciprocal of 2/3 is 3/2. Okay, the reciprocal of 1/4 is 4/1. Means you're flipping the numerator and denominator. So on my example, that means I keep the first one, change my divide sign to a times sign, and I'm going to reciprocal the second fraction. So then it becomes a times question. Okay, so then I can use my reducing. 4 goes into 4 and 8, and that leaves me with 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 1 is 2. Okay, let's look at another example. If I have -1 and 1/5 divided by 3.5, so I'm going to flip those. So this will become -6/5 divided by 7/2. Now, to do the division, keep the first one the same, change my divide to a times, take the reciprocal of the second. So 7/2 becomes 2/7. Now I'm going to see if anything reduces, but it doesn't look like it, so just multiply across the top, -12/35. And that's done. Okay, so if you need a few more examples, call me over. Otherwise, you can go ahead and work through the multiplying and dividing questions.